Welcome back, everyone. I'm Halima Sharif, your host and producer for Anything and Everything, the internet-based show which acknowledges that everyone has a story. In June 2020, as part of my company, HS Global Consulting, a woman minority-owned public relations and communications firm commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, I sought to create something meaningful and entertaining to help ease the sadness and frustration caused by the pandemic. To date, I have produced over 25 episodes within the following categories: the New Orleans music legends, women catalysts, women of color catalysts and their allies, the artist circle, the brotherhood circle, the Muslim women's catalyst, and many more segments and platforms to come. I've interviewed such notables as former executive writer producer for the Martin Lawrence Show, Kenny Buford, New Orleans jazz legends Edward Kid Jordan, Jermaine Basil, and Roger Dickerson, actor, comedian, and Saturday Night Live's first Black actor Garrett Morris, famed comedian actress Lunel, First Lady Jill Biden's chief of staff and former U.S. ambassador for Uruguay appointed by President Obama, Julissa Reynosa, Kimba Hendricks, Director of Diversity and Inclusion for the House of Representatives, and Suba Berry, Sarah Mount's President and CEO. For the record, Sarah Mount represents the evolution of an enduring legacy supporting and advancing women in the workplace over the past 40 years to the important work we as women do today for empowering inclusive workplaces for all. So shout out to Sarah Mount. For more information about Anything and Everything, visit www.anythingandeverythingmedia.com. Today's guest for our Women's Catalyst segment, and in honor of Women's History Month, is my amazing cousin, Dr. Jennifer Lapeyrolerie. Oh, girl, what am I talking about? Jennifer Lapeyrolerie. I'm talking too fast. Welcome, cuz.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored. I didn't, just girl, regular people.
You ain't no regular person. You all that. You really are. You're just being humble. So on that note, I'm going to introduce everyone. Let me read your bio. Dr. Jennifer Lapeyrolerie hails from humble beginnings. She grew up in Reserve, Louisiana, which is in St. John the Baptist Parish. She graduated with honors from our alma mater, Xavier University of Louisiana College of Pharmacy. She immediately started medical school at UCLA while working as a pharmacist on weekends and holidays throughout LA County. She completed her residency in obstetrics and gynecology at the top of the training facilities in the field, University of Texas Houston A program. Filled with the desire to serve her community and be that role model that she was missing in her youth, she returned to New Orleans. Her first clinical job had her staffing and seeing patients in the housing development clinics, the St. Bernard Projects, and the Fisher High Rise housing development. She was then hired by Crescent City Physicians Incorporated, where she remained for 25 years, during which time she staffed the now defunct Turo Center for Healthy Beginnings, which was a Medicaid clinic for the neighboring community. She also staffed the Daughters of Charity Clinic once weekly for years until they were able to hire full-time staff. She has had the privilege of serving as gratis faculty for both Tulane University School of Medicine and LSU School of Medicine, Department of Obstetrics, I can never pronounce that, girl, and gynecology. She brought many exciting skills to Turo, including forceps assisted deliveries, vaginal delivery of multiple, and vaginal breech deliveries. Totally out my league. Although sidelined from practicing clinical medicine due to the injury, she is currently reinventing herself so she can remain a vital part in serving her community and mentoring those who come behind. On the personal side, she is married. She is a proud mother of 3 lovely adult children, 2 German Shepherd dogs, and 2 rescue cats. She is a proud gun owner, but is not a member of the NRA. Okay, just letting y'all know. She has a 4th degree belt in Taekwondo and an active member of our lovely sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Okay, back to the Taekwondo's 4th degree black belt. So, all y'all out there, that's all I got to say. Welcome, cuz. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
So let's go back. Even though I know some of this, but some things I probably don't know. Take us through your childhood, your upbringing.
Well, I am in the middle of 8 children, but I have 4 older brothers, 2 younger sisters, and 1 younger brother. So I'm the beginning of the second half. which started off with the three girls. So a lot of times we were referred to as the three girls and Brian. So I grew up in Reserve, which is only less than 30 miles from here. From my house to my parents' front door is about 28 miles. And, well, both my parents were trained to be educators. My mom, music education, and my dad was in education, but he took a job at a refinery, which paid more than what he would get in education. And he needed it since they had so many kids, right? So went to Catholic elementary school, public school for high school at East St. John. And my older brother happened to be, he and my cousin integrated that Catholic school. And then from East St. John to Xavier University. And my second oldest brother, Jeffrey, had just graduated from Xavier, and he was going to medical school. And, my mom always said, you need something to fall back on. And he said, why don't you do pharmacy? And I'm like, sure, why not? I did well. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't have that kind of counseling when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I graduated as valedictorian, I didn't have, my school counselor wasn't interactive with me as to what I should do or what are my opportunities and things like that. So kind of did that. Well, my mom wanted me to go to Xavier. That was the bottom line. She didn't want me to leave the state. None of that stuff. That wasn't happening. So at Xavier, I had that. I said, well, she said to fall back on something. So I registered to do College of Pharmacy, which was great. And I did that. I entered the sorority in the fall of '85 and graduated from Xavier with my degree in '88. So with that, you have to do rotations in the hospital. You have to do rotations in retail pharmacy. And I had done both of those. And I thought, all right, I think this is great. I know medicines, but I felt like that wasn't my calling. Mm-hmm. So I applied for medical school, got accepted. And upon graduating, moved to California, took the California board for pharmacy. And I worked as a pharmacist through my first 2.5 years of medical school. And I worked weekends and holidays. I did relief work. So I got to learn all of LA County. And it was a wonderful experience. And I went to California because I knew I had friends that were at UCLA. There were quite a few people from Xavier that were in the UC system. And so I knew that I'd have some foundation and some, and went through med school. I wasn't as together as I thought, because then impulsively got married to a guy in the Navy. That didn't work out, to say the least, because he was okay. He said he was okay with me finishing med school, but he didn't want me to practice medicine. And I was like, that was not what we discussed.
No, Emily,
married. And I'm not going to do this and not follow my calling. That's just not going to happen. So that didn't work out. And my whole reason for trying to do an internship in Los Angeles, because he was in the Navy, then he decided not to re-up. So then, thankfully, my line sister, Tracy Banks, was at UT Houston, the LBJ program, which was program A at the time.
Okay.
And somebody wasn't continuing in the second year spot. I did my internship at UCLA. And I flew down for the interview, got the job. Everything was, I think, divinely ordered.
Yes.
At the time, UCLA was one of the top 5 medical schools in the country. UT Houston was one of the top residency training programs in obstetrics and gynecology. Our program director literally wrote the book on high-risk obstetrics.
Oh.
Dr. Robert Creasy. And, I've had to present cases in front of him numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that wrote chapters in his book were my staff. I was learning from the people that wrote the books. So upon finishing, I was realizing I was spending all my vacation time coming home to New Orleans because I love my family. I love my city. There's just so much going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't doing other things. So I said, well, let me move back home so I can go to vacation somewhere else. And, I can serve people that I understand.
Right.
I provided a service for people that didn't speak English. I spoke enough Spanish, and they were really appreciative of that I attempted to meet them at their level. And I said, I want to do this for my own community. So I came back home, and it was right at a time there was a transition, and a lot of private physicians practices were being bought out by the companies like Tenet, Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
things that are not even existent anymore. So it was hard for me to get hired on because I remember being brought in. I'm just going to give you an example.
Sure.
I was brought in for an interview by a headhunter and paired me up with a doctor who was on the West Bank, and he was of Haitian descent, had a huge practice. So we're meeting and we're talking, and the gentleman asked me, well, where do you expect to practice? Because, they don't deliver at every hospital. And I said, I realize that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I said, well, I could be uptown. I could be out in New Orleans East. I can, I would prefer to be in Orleans Parish, but I can go to Jefferson Parish. And he said, well, you need to think about that because, the good old boys at Baptist may not like the type of patients you're going to attract. And I said, I'm going to attract the type of patients you market me to.
That's right.
I said, what are you implying? I don't have an appeal just to one type of person. And I am fortunate that I had a very diverse population when I did get hired on with Crescent City Physicians.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like you're coming back home, get ready.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Get ready. Not that there weren't issues on the West Coast, because I had to deal with it on the West Coast. Not so much in Texas. We had a very large Mexican population,
right,
like from Mexico, made their way. And I didn't have that kind of issue from those patients at all. I mean, it was a very pleasant experience. Most people can't say that about their residencies, but mine was. And we worked a lot. And coming home, I was like, oh, right, okay. So I said, well, it depends on how I'm marketed. You know, I know that there aren't many African-American women practicing obstetrics and gynecology in the area compared to the population. So that should be an advantage, and it won't be an appeal just to Medicaid patients, as you're implying. So that was my first kind of experience about get ready, you're coming back. So that's how I ended up with this company that had me at the healthcare facilities and the housing developments, which no longer exists now. And then there was a doctor that was leaving. She was practicing at Turo, and another doctor involved in that organization that served the public health and Daughters of Charity recommended me, and I was interviewed and got that job. And I had been there from 1997 to 2021.
Wow. Talk about a journey.
It has been.
And every state is different. Louisiana, Texas, but Louisiana has its own type of dynamics. I want to go back and repeat myself correctly. And I referred to you as Dr. Jennifer Lapeyrolerie.
Because that's my
I
That's
know.
my professional name,
Right.
but my
But
government name is something else.
exactly. So she's married to our college classmate, Renee not Renee Matoya. Think about Renee, your sister. Anyway, so let's just repeat Dr. Jennifer Lapeyrolerie Matoya. Hey, Renee. Renee, the husband. Hey, Renee, the sister. Anyway, crazy. Yeah, it's interesting listening to your journey and like you said, the word divine. Everything was laid out for you, even when you thought it was going to be, oh gosh, this dreadful moment, but it actually, it was laid out for you. What would you say inspired you to become a doctor? More so an OBGYN in that practice.
Well, as I went through the rotations that we have to do as medical students, my very first one was neurosurgery, which is
Okay.
brain surgery. It could be, and then the next one was trauma patients, trauma surgery, and I liked that aspect of it. And then I did internal medicine, and I was like, these people are really sick.
You're like, never mind.
And well, and the thing was, I am, I guess, results driven. And if you have patients that don't take care of themselves,
Yeah.
and you're getting more worked up and concerned about their health and for them doing things and they're not doing it and not getting any better, I said,
Mhm.
But what really happened when I did my rotation for OBGYN, here it was great to do deliveries. The highs are very high. It was great to do the gynecology because you got to do procedures and surgeries.
Okay.
And in your pregnant patients may have medical conditions that you still have to manage in pregnancy. And it made it a little more complicated, but we knew there was an end to that, an end point to that journey for being pregnant. So you saw them in the beginning, you saw it through it, you did the delivery, you did postpartum, and hopefully they remained your patient and you got to follow them along and maybe with different pregnancies, etc. So it was more that felt right to me. It had
Okay.
surgery, it had medicine. I got to deliver babies. And I said, this is it. This is it. I had one more rotation, pediatrics, and it just didn't excite me. Now, my brother said, don't do that. The liability. Oh, you don't want to do that. The hours. Come on, I could get you in urology. I was like, are you kidding? Oh, no.
Oh Lord.
I was determined to follow what I felt was my calling, not just a job. So what drew me to it, it felt right. It was, again, my path was set forth for me. I paid attention and I followed it.
Well, you
That's
know
what
what?
really happened.
And you are great at what you do, and you continue to be great even as you move in different directions. And I'm just going to brag some more. I'm just going to show some pictures that I grabbed, and we're going to have to shout out to these wonderful women who you delivered their babies. So anyway, here's one.
Allie. Yeah.
That you remember
Oh,
that picture?
yes.
Hey, Allie, we're showing you on the show. So I don't know what year this was. So, and I'm sure
I don't know
so many
either,
babies.
because I delivered her four sons. I didn't get to deliver her fifth, which was her first daughter, and that broke my heart. But
Aw. And then you've got this one.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, who from behind she didn't look like she was pregnant, and then when she turned around, it looked like she had a big bass drum. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
One baby a whole pound bigger than the other.
And then you've got like a bunch of shout outs. And this is the same person.
That's Allie.
Right?
She has been a wonderful patient, and she's a wonderful person, and she's given back by she became a doula and advocate for women in labor, and just the heart of gold and a really great person.
Let me ask you something. I'm looking at those pictures, and God knows how many babies you have delivered. You probably just stopped counting.
I
But
did.
what does that, I and you know what it's like to deliver a child from, us delivering a child. But what does that feel like to be a part of bringing a child into the world by your patients? For you, yeah.
It's an honor. It's a privilege that they trust me in
Mhm.
this very important part of their lives. They're starting their family.
Yes.
It is an honor that they can put their lives in my hand and the lives of their babies in my hands. And the excitement there is. Another Xavierite. I mean, when his
Mhm.
baby was delivered, he was going all around. I said, "Oh my God, y'all should see him. He's acting like he invented something. He's so excited." And so it is a tremendous honor because they can go to other people. And I do my best to serve everyone. I did not discriminate based on insurance.
That's
I
right.
had at one point I had more privately insured patients. Um, it started kind of 50-50, and then it got to be more privately insured patients
Okay.
because what happened is some of the Medicaid patients got jobs, they got
Mhm.
insurance, and they stayed with me. So
Okay.
that I didn't lose the patients, I didn't gain other ones. They stayed with me and they got employment and commercial insurance. So it was worth it.
What would you say are the most significant barriers to women's health?
Who people first of all taking women seriously,
Mhm.
like uh and what I mean by that is when a and it's somewhat changed because we have more women in different areas. It's right now about 50-50 with men and women, or maybe women are edging them out a little bit in medical school,
Uh-huh.
but you still have people my generation where that wasn't those weren't the statistics. So you still have people with this mindset that what was ingrained in them, and when I don't know, they don't seem to take women's complaints as seriously.
Mhm.
Um, and it seems, and I can say this as a patient, even though I'm a physician, I feel like they don't take my complaints seriously, or they can be dismissive, and I'm trying to figure that out. Like, well, that I'm a physician, why are you doing this? Well, they don't see Jennifer Lapeyrolerie MD, they see what they see,
Right.
a woman
Right.
of color. That's what they see, a Black woman. And and I was like, oh my goodness. And I know what's going on.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
understand medicine. I can really advocate for myself. And just imagine someone who doesn't know, and maybe they don't even recognize they're being treated in a dismissive manner,
Yeah.
or that they're being pacified, or, not, they don't. So, one of the barriers is not seeing women as a legitimate person,
Mhm.
not seeing people of color as having the same issues. Um, there was a study done, and I'm the worst at quoting statistics, and I don't remember where it was, but basically they interviewed medical students,
Okay.
residents at different levels. And the results of it were somewhat astounding. They had medical students who thought that Black people's skin literally was thicker than white people's skin.
Mm.
They thought Black people didn't feel pain as easily as white people, like we could tolerate pain more, we
Interesting.
didn't feel it the same. That thought our brains were smaller, and that what was the other thing? That they can tolerate their blood pressure being a little high.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. I
Are
heard
you
that so much.
serious? So that
So this
was an
one
actual
of the
study.
studies. So they stud, but as they went through residency, the higher level residents, and they learned more, then the answers were, they realized, oh, the brains are the same size. It's not 100%. You know, but the percentage of those that knew there weren't those kinds of differences got smaller, but there were still some who thought that way. So they were trained that way. There are doctors who trained before me, and like I heard, you know, there's still some vestiges from that, with folks with that mentality that's still around, and they're still teaching other people.
That's scary.
So it is.
That's very scary because, you know, as you and I both know, because I know most of the folks I've either worked with are either in the healthcare or educational sector. And we know there are tons of studies. And these studies, sometimes they compete against one another. And sometimes, you know, we don't know where they're getting information from or what group, what sector. And you're like, you know, well, who did you interview or who did you study in creating this study? But for these medical students who have that in their mindset that African Americans are a certain way, Caucasians are a certain way, Hispanics, you know, so forth and so on. It's just like when you think about asthma. And I know this from working with different folks in the allergy asthma arena. The lung capacity of African Americans are different from certain ethnic groups, Caucasians or whatever. But there's so many different studies on that. And I'm like, okay, where are you getting all this information from? Or even certain medications that are given to certain ethnic groups. And a lot of people don't like talking about that, especially in the medical field and especially pharmaceutical companies. You know, we're not going to go there. It's interesting to hear you say this. Our skin is thicker. You know, it's just like certain skin type can't be in the sun. You know, so it makes you wonder, where are these studies coming from and who's challenging them, and why does it stop there with those folks, professors or whomever, doctors who are doing these studies? Why does it stop there and just leave it with these group of students who are just like, okay, that's just the way it is?
That particular study was to demonstrate bias in the system.
It is total. I was getting ready to say that, like total.
It was done to demonstrate there is this bias in the system and how people still think. Oh man, and they don't want to teach critical race theory. Clearly, it's needed.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know what? It's not just, you know, this conversation we're having in the medical sector. It's straight across the board, biases and
it's straight
every
across aspect of life.
Yeah, so it definitely exists, and I'm sure that can be a whole another conversation with you, me, and 20 other people to have this conversation. And speaking of that going on, racial ethnic disparities in reproductive health access services and outcomes, you know, are prevalent and require heightened awareness and strategies to close these disparities. These gaps. So I'm sure this is like definitely mainly the case for what's contraceptive access, preventing maternal deaths, and decreasing HIV infections. So my question is, as an OBGYN, what has it been like for you to tackle these racial disparities in healthcare, especially for young women? And that just goes back to our previous question.
It's about getting the education and the information out to the community about what is available to them. If it's that they're eligible for Medicaid, well, you know, get to a doctor. One thing about New Orleans, there's no place that's too far. You know, it doesn't really take that long to get anywhere.
15, 20 minutes.
And so a place like New Orleans is not that difficult because we do have clinics, and that was one of the good things about LSU and Tulane, but mostly LSU. They had those outlying clinics in the communities so that it was easier for the patients to get to. That changed post-Katrina. It changed. So they were more centralized, but patients post-Katrina, it changed a lot of things because whereas certain doctors wouldn't take Medicaid beforehand, they took it after, and that opened the doors for people to be able to go to the nearest doctor, let's say. But in more rural areas, if there's not a family planning clinic, and that's what it was called in reserve,
Mm-hmm.
or Planned Parenthood or a community clinic, they have these things, but there's far more capacity. There are far more patients than the capacity.
Okay.
And, people don't want to wait that long, which
No.
they shouldn't, because they probably have things to do at home.
True.
So having the availability of healthcare, and access, that's the thing, having access. And, it all kind of boils down to education too,
Mm-hmm.
because knowledge is power. And if you know about your bodies, and I can say for Orleans Parish, you can't teach them about reproduction. I just spoke to an educator yesterday. You can't teach them about reproduction. I said, not even like in biology. I don't mean sex and people getting pregnant, but teach them how the female reproductive cycle works.
Mm.
So at least they can say they know that, like from an educated source, and not.
Yeah.
But the disparities come with access. The disparities comes with the implicit biases.
Mm-hmm.
It comes. Those are I want to say, the main factors, and I can say for LSU, they have really done a lot in their OBGYN residency training program.
Yes.
Thanks to Dr. Robert Maupin for diversity, both in the medical school and in their obstetrics and gynecology program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful thing. And they have some of the best and brightest that come through there. And man, it's about taking care of their patients. And it's refreshing to see, because you have just a variety of people of color, and they're in the majority as far as the residency program. And for those who are Caucasian,
Mm-hmm.
they have a whole different experience. They're meeting people, they get to be very close with their co-residents, and they see things differently, one by one, creating allies. But yeah, if we could do something about access, education and access,
Yes.
and that would help. Mhm.
No, I mean, those two words, education and access, I mean, they work hand in hand. And that's what the challenge is straight across our nation in general. What would you say are the top 5 things women should take heed to as it relates to managing their overall health?
Take heed to?
Yes.
Let's see. Be your own advocate. Make sure you ask questions. If you don't understand what somebody is saying, say, can you, I need an example, or can you state that another way? Because what I'm hearing is this. And if you're understanding it correctly, then okay. And ask for alternatives. Do I have any choices? Or maybe even just plain old get a second opinion. Because I've had so many people come to me or call me to say, this is what I was told. This doesn't make sense. Why? Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I would need your whole record, but let's look at the whole picture. So advocate for yourself. Find out what's going on. Get your questions answered. Make sure that what you're being told is not just some cookie cutter recipe, and it's individualized for your care.
Yes.
They should, I guess this is still under advocacy, monitor your own blood pressure. Take your blood pressure, get a blood pressure machine if you can, and take it seriously. cardiovascular disease, and that's high blood pressure, when cholesterol affects your arteries. Um, Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer for everybody, more than any cancers, more than the cancers put together.
Yes.
Cardiovascular disease. So if somebody says, oh, their blood pressure can be a little high, no, because even a little high starts to damage the kidneys.
That's
and
right.
then you have somebody on dialysis, 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. Ask them how they feel at the end of dialysis. Can they function? Or sometimes they do peritoneal dialysis every night at home.
Yes.
Well, ask them how that feels. Do you want to live like that? So check your blood pressure. Try to eat as healthy as possible and limiting the salt. Salt can be the devil if you have too much of it. So things that contain sodium, not just sodium chloride, it's sodium itself, but sodium chloride is the most common form. So what was that? Advocate, check your blood pressure, eat as healthy. Oh, and to move around. Even I would ask my patients often, are you exercising? I chaperone the parades. I said, parade season isn't all year long. If you can walk at least 30 minutes a day, that would help.
Yes.
So just getting out and walking. You don't have, it's important that you have the right kind of shoes so you won't hurt your joints, and you have to be careful when you're older, but
that's a whole nother
definitely
story.
You don't have to buy some fancy computerized machine. You can walk 15 minutes from your house.
Go up and down the stairs like I do.
Up and down the stairs if the weather's bad. Walk around your house.
Yes.
Or walk 15 minutes away and take the 15 minutes back. And
that's right.
If you're walking with a buddy, then it seems to go by more quickly. You can decompress, whether it's your spouse, your partner, your friend, your dogs. You really should exercise your dogs. And it is very, very important. So what did I say? So advocate, check your pressure, less salt,
move around,
exercise. What else should we heed? Oh, trust your gut. Trust your instincts. You feel like something is wrong, investigate it. Try not to be in denial. I would hear so many times, I would say, why didn't you go to the doctor? Well, I didn't get that done because I thought if I go get a mammogram, they're going to find cancer. Well, it's far better to find cancer very early than before it's too late. Then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So pay attention. You think something's wrong, have it investigated, follow up on it. Don't ignore it. If you're certain something is wrong, you just feel it and the doctor's being dismissive, that's where it comes back to advocating for yourself. Get a second opinion.
Yeah.
Find out something's going on. So you need to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, who's going to take care of the rest of your family?
That's right.
I know who's doing it. It's the women that's doing it. We know who's taking care of the family, who's the nucleus, right? I'm not saying that fathers and etc. are not important, but we know, especially with young children,
yes,
everything kind of revolves around mom. Mom takes care of this one, and it's multi-generational, like it is in my house, like it was for my mom.
That's right.
My mom took care of her mother and her mother-in-law and us. She was in the middle. Now it's my turn. My mom lives with us. I still have one child. I mean, she's 19, but she lives here, and they're still all my children. Oh my God. Yeah. But look, it's 3. But some people say, "Oh, Now that's something I heard when I'm practicing. I had completed residency.
Oh yeah.
I had my son was 2 years old and had just turned 2, and I was pregnant and due in a couple of months. And one of the doctors said, "You're pregnant again?" I said, "Excuse me?"
Crazy.
I said, "I'm grown. I'm a practicing physician, so I'm paying my way. You don't have
Mhm.
to pay for me. I can have as many children as I want when I want."
That's right. They try to yeah,
I
they'll take you there, girl.
couldn't believe you would come up. We're not friends. We were never friends. You'd ask me, "You're pregnant again?"
Like that
But
ain't none of your
anyway,
business. Yeah.
so
It's
yeah,
true.
we have to take care of ourselves. So
That's right.
don't ignore those things, because we're taking care of we're the middle generation.
Yes,
We're
we
taking
are.
care of children, we're taking care of adults, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you need to take care of yourself. So maybe number 6 would be self-care.
Yeah, self-care is very important. And I think a lot of time as women, we ignore ourselves. We ignore ourselves because, that word multitask can be such a bad word because people just assume, oh, they're the best multitaskers. And I think that's just the way we are built or something. But at the same time, we need to give ourselves a break.
Well, we
And one of the,
prioritize our families.
yes, you
But
have to.
but sometimes, and I saw this on one of your posts recently. No.
Oh yeah, I
You
said
have
it's
to say
okay.
no.
It's
That's a
okay to
sentence
say
all by
no
itself.
because it can definitely, if you don't say enough no's, it will make your life complicated unnecessarily. And that's it's a blessing. Like you have your mom there with you. When my parents were alive, we had both mama and daddy, and it's not easy. Because we have to balance our lives with our spouse, our children, and grandchildren, and everything else. But we do it. But just saying prioritizing is the number one thing. What would you say is the most challenging as well as rewarding part of your job where you are now and even in the past?
Um, the challenging part was, it seemed like whenever there was new staff or new nurses working labor and delivery, um, they acted as if I had to prove myself to them.
Mm.
So that was challenging to always be questioned in that regard, or looked into and reported, because I've never seen that. Well, because you've never seen anything, that doesn't mean I haven't done it. I
That's right.
mean, so that was really challenging to, up until the end. I still had to deal with that kind of stuff. Uh, and even I had already let my hair go gray, so I said, "Oh, maybe I look." I in the beginning I said it's because I look so young, and I'm just out of residency, and they know
Mhm.
it. And I said that's I'll understand that. But man, once you're there 10, 15, 20, 24 years, come on. At
Leave me
what
alone.
point? Right, leave me alone. At what
Mhm.
point are you going to give deference to my opinion
Yes.
over uh, a resident who might only be a second year resident?
Yeah.
Are you
Please.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Because it's a guy? You is that real? Yes, that has happened to me. You're going to stop the show. You're going to call the nurse manager, who's then going to call the director over maternal health care, who's then going to call the vice president of nursing behind the resident. You're listening to the resident. I've shown you already what I can do. You know what some of the nurses used to call me? The ones who did respect what I brought to the table?
Mhm.
MacGyver,
Oh, I love it.
right?
Oh
And
goodness.
so
Was one of
that's,
those nurses my sister, your cousin?
look, yes, we work well together. Huh.
Layla don't play with nobody.
No, she doesn't.
No.
Yeah. Oh my
Hilarious.
gosh, we work many shifts together. Absolutely.
That's so
And
funny.
and what were we talking about? Because I was about to say something else once you brought up Liv.
We were talking about the rewarding, the challenges and the rewards.
So that I started with the challenges, and that part, it seems like, and I'm saying people of color because some of the Latin American physicians were getting the same kind of treatment.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess if they had more color to them, certainly. And some of them, and it's just, whew, the things I've witnessed, it has been a lot. Now, the rewarding part is when, it could be years later, somebody will say, oh my gosh, do you remember me? You saved my baby's life. And I'm thinking, no, I don't remember you. But then she explained I wasn't her doctor, so I didn't know her. But of course, it was relevant to her when she explained it. I said, oh yeah, well, that's my duty, that's my calling. Right. And so it's very rewarding when people, they're thankful for you and they appreciate what you've done, not just in that you saved my life, but that you delivered me this healthy child.
Yes.
That you made me feel comfortable. I didn't have the fear, that some other people did. And those are some of the highs,
like those pictures I shared.
Yes. People that actually respect what I do and respect my training and respect me as a human being. That means the world. Both of those pictures, those ladies live across the lake.
Wow.
But they came across the lake because they wanted a chance to deliver without an epidural. Who thought that was a big deal?
That says a lot.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Well, certain hospitals over there, really and truly, everybody gets an epidural. They don't want it to. I said, well, what if they can't afford it?
That's right.
If they don't want it, if they just don't want it. And that was the case with those two ladies who did it and made it look easy, and they were determined. And, so those things, and it may not even be immediately in the moment. It's like later when we're in the store somewhere or we're at Jazz Fest, wherever we are, we get stopped.
Doctor, yeah.
Hey, do you recognize him? And it'll be somebody grown,
Yes.
And it's like, Dr. Lab. My kids were like, oh, we'll never get out of this store. I had to stop going to the Walmart on Chapatulas. Behind that, we couldn't get out of the store. Just for years later, for them to say, what happened and what they were experiencing, and I'm thinking I'm doing something routine, but it meant the world to them.
Yes.
Oh, I held their hand. I did? Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I do what I do.
Yeah. And it just comes, you just said you do what you do. And you also got to look at it that you've paid your dues and you're still paying your dues. And all of these patients and their children who are now grown, and you look back and you be like, man, I did all this, and it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And, and at the same time, it still has its moments because it's not easy. A lot of folks think that your world of, oh my gosh, she's a doctor and she's doing this, but it's not easy. It's a joy, but it's still not easy.
It is not. No. When Celeste was starting her orientation for Xavier in the fall,
yes,
about 5 people that I delivered had come up to me because their children were at Xavier.
Oh goodness.
They're former Xavierites. Some of them are former Xavierites as well. One student was in Xavier at the time. She had just finished, and her husband was in med school at the time. They're both physicians now. Goodness. And their daughter's at Xavier. another patient of mine brought her, she was like, Dr. La, and I remembered her because she had some complications in her last couple of pregnancies. And then let's see, the Hueys brought, one of their daughters is at Xavier, the other went to Dillard, but their mom went to Dillard, so I had to give them allowance for that, right? And, I have a picture somewhere with Celeste and some of the people that I delivered.
Wow.
I'll send it to you. It was a trip because, of course, the moms recognized me, and some of them have moved away and now they're back. And they were like, "Oh, she delivered you." So I'm like, "Oh, Celeste, that's
full
really
circle."
Yeah.
That is so, it's interesting. And then what's so funny is when the parents say, "Hey, you remember her? She delivered you," and they're like, "Well, first of all, I was being born, so we don't remember much of it." Are you sending me something now to show? Is that what you're doing?
I'm going to send it to you. Yeah.
So as you're doing that, and this is the joy of doing anything and everything, because you just never know what's going to happen in real time. So tell me, if folks wanted to know more about Jennifer, is there a website or something they can go to?
No, I don't have.
No. Okay, but again, just Google Jennifer.
I'm not that.
Girl, I just asked.
A website like that.
Just Google Jennifer Lapeyrolerie. Do a Google search, a news search, and an image search. Okay. Well, let's see what you just sent me.
Now we don't know what's gonna come up with that. So
actually, I do remember seeing. This is so interesting. We're having this casual conversation while we're on camera. So I'm just gonna send this to myself. So
I can't find the picture of the people I delivered. I thought sure it would have Celeste's picture in it, but I can't find, because it was a group of them and we were.
I remember that picture. I'm looking at it now. Okay, so I'm gonna share this with you all. Picture that you're referring to. Make sure I add this, and you just drink your water until I add this picture. Okay, so let's see.
So yeah, those parts are really, and there would be times, Halima, that we would get so frustrated, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I've had enough. And then someone will send a basket of fruit or flowers or a wonderful handwritten note about, it just something is like, and it would fill us up. It would fill us up so we could get back to it again.
See, that's what I mean.
Not just the gifts; it were the letters. I have the letters.
It's the appreciation and the fact that, of course, you're going to have folks that are going to complain, but that gives you that extra boost when you get those. Here's the picture you just sent me, just to show to everyone. Okay, so tell us about that picture again. That's Celeste, third from the left.
So that's Carlos, that's Carla, Vital. They're physicians in Houston. That's their firstborn daughter. That's my baby girl and me and me. And this was at orientation at Xavier. But there were others. I just can't.
So you delivered their daughter?
Yes, but if Carlos tells you the story, every time you hear the story from him, it gets embellished a little more about how much he did.
Girl,
it's kind of funny, but
just to digress for a moment, that outfit you have on, okay, do you still have it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I need it. Anyway, or you can just tell me where you got it from. I think it's so cute with the head wrap and everything.
That's so something I got. The place, it was Imani on North Broad, and after her mom got sick, she closed the shop, and that was it. I
remember that place.
Yep.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. So listen, speaking of children and husbands and family, let's talk about Jennifer, the wife, the mother, the doctor, the sorority sister, the caretaker, the counselor, and whatever else. We, as women, you said we multitask 24/7. So what has that been like for you?
Exhausting. As it turns out, it's exhausting. Who knew? Because once we're in it and we're doing it, we do what we have to do.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't until I stopped I was forced to stop because I had surgery, and then I stopped.
Yes,
Then
yes.
I realized, oh my gosh, I'm kind of tired.
Yeah.
But making family a priority,
Mm-hmm.
because they're going to be there. They were there for me before, and they're going to be there after the career, right?
Right. That's
So
right.
it's important to make the family the priority. And I did everything in my power to attend every function. I couldn't attend every function. There were some times that I just couldn't make it, but I attended more than I missed.
Like this one. Well, they were little bitties. Well, look, I think that's the cutest picture.
That's a post Katrina. Yeah, we give everything based on Katrina. That's our benchmark. That's a post Katrina photo because we were living out in reserve, and Joshua's friends were taking Taekwondo, so he wanted to, and there was a studio there, and so we did, and I brought them, and the instructor said, it's not just for children. Adults can try it. I said, man,
might as well.
And he was like, come on. And so their class was just in front of my class. And when we moved back, we had a wonderful instructor, Mr. Bashans Jordan. And he eventually bought his own studio in the same company. He was a fantastic instructor and motivator. And we all did it. All three of the kids are 3rd degree black belts. And I have 4th degree because at the time, you had to be 17 to test for your 4th degree.
Okay.
And they were all much younger than that. And then we started doing other, they were called minor fields of study, other martial arts with the short stick, long stick.
Renee didn't do the class with y'all? He didn't
I think he got his yellow belt.
You got it. Come on, Renee, you got to catch up.
Now we don't do it anymore because then as that part of it happened, and so then they getting into high school started with sports. My son did AAU basketball. Elise did AAU basketball.
So that's a lot. That's traveling and everything. So
they did that, and they were taking music. They had to do music, right?
To do music. It's in our blood. You have to.
They had to.
Yeah.
And they did very well in that, the music as well. I mean, Celeste's minor is music, voice. Joshua is outstanding on that violin.
Oh my goodness, he's amazing.
At least every instrument she touches,
it's in her, girl.
Every instrument she touches, she plays more instruments than the others. Joshua's percussions and the violin. Celeste is piano and voice, and Elise is everything.
Isn't that amazing? Just for the record, you all, Jennifer and I are related on my father's side, the Humphrey side. So, as she talks about music, it's in us, and we can't escape it. No, even if we tried, it was mandatory in the household for all of us to play an instrument. Every family.
It was a requirement. It was a requirement.
Literally.
And my grandfather made sure that we got the instruments, and not only that, he donated instruments to our elementary school.
That's right.
To help them. He and I was going to say Ben Jaffe, but it was his dad, Alan Jaffe.
Yes, it was.
Made sure at St. Peter's they donated some instruments so they can get the band started.
Yeah.
So they can get a band started.
That's amazing. I want to show you more pictures. So then there's this one.
See, look at there. So
they're all grown up now.
This is the same summer. That's Coco Gauff in blue. She had just won the French Open Juniors.
Wow.
And she was playing somewhere near LSU, and we all went out to support her.
Wow, that's amazing.
And see my son with his Kaepernick.
Yeah, jersey. I see him.
And Elise
had all of them. And you got to keep the pink and green going. You got to represent.
I try to represent. See my little lapel pin?
I see it. I see it.
Everywhere I go,
one right there.
That's part of me too. That's what I'm,
Yeah.
And the service to all mankind is no joke.
I love this picture. An
homage to my favorite band of all time.
Oh my goodness. I just love. When was this picture taken?
let's see, after September 21st, because Earth, Wind, and Fire played here September 21st.
I remember that. Darn.
And wait, why was Joshua and Elise home?
I don't know. That was your children.
Oh, that may have been Thanksgiving.
It may have been was it? Oh, may have been Thanksgiving. Okay, that's right. You said okay.
Right.
So it was
Thanksgiving.
Okay. And
I was like, why were they home?
I showed this one. Oh, then this one. There's Renee, and there's
Renee, my sister.
Brian and his wife.
And his wife, Dawn.
It's a pretty dress you have on.
This is after Celeste has shaved all her hair off for a cause, St. Baldrick's.
Beautiful. She looks. Look, all of your kids are beautiful. Girl, we got some strong genes.
Don't we though?
And then let's see what else we got here. Then let's just show you in sorority here. But before I show that, this picture was taken in 2014, and me, you, and Renee. No, was it 20? It was 2013. It was at Brian's party.
Brian's party.
Right? You said it was his 40th.
Yes.
So we're telling your age, Brian. Okay. Then there's this one.
Yep. I don't even remember where that was. Oh, it's on my shirt.
Oh, my word.
Was that the Houston one? I guess.
I think I can
it's
see
on the shirt. Houston,
oh, it is. That was the Houston one.
That was Houston, I think.
And then this one.
That's in New Orleans, and that was actually for that was for a function for the Omegas, the public I forgot what it's called. Anyway, the public session, and they wanted as many as us to represent as possible. And our international president, Dr. Glenda Glover, was there, and
nice.
We were there to support her. And it was funny because she said, "I bet I'm the only QET on this panel," because her husband's an Omega.
Oh Lord!
And I was, my husband's an Omega.
I know
his son's an Omega.
I saw that. Yeah, yep. So I know Renee's proud that Joshua's an Omega. He, I saw those pictures, so he lost his complete mind. I totally understand.
Unfortunately, we couldn't celebrate that way because it was March of 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So they never got to do, but he's made up for it because it's his mission to get to every HBCU and
well, he's doing it. Listen, I have to commend you. And the medical staff during that time, because you guys were on the front line. That is no joke, so thank you. And, I'm sure it was challenging for you and your family and just a lot.
To be honest, I was out because I had surgery. I was out. So all of the accolades go to the other frontline workers who I prayed for constantly, because I was home recovering. Who knew? Who knew that was that way? And that kind of after that surgery sidelined me. And so I didn't know I would not end up in clinical medicine.
Isn't that something? How life turns.
One door closes, another one opens. And what happened was I got a job from a recommendation of a soror friend who lives in Atlanta. And it's for a specialty group pharmacy. And my undergraduate degree is in pharmacy. And I'm a medical doctor. So the position is medical director, specialty group pharmacy. And this happened after I got an interview after I was evacuated for Hurricane Ida.
Wow. You see how that works?
Like, I could work at home. No, I could work wherever I have internet, so I can have the opportunity of, if I, go to visit my kids on the East Coast, the two that live out there, I could still work during the day like they do. They don't have to take time off, and we would have the evenings together. It's a wonderful job with a wonderful team. And I may not have considered that had I gone back to clinical medicine. And it's like, Well, thank you. I work from home. I don't have the liability. I'm making sure people who need this medicine can get this medicine, etc.
Mhm.
It's not just about denying people's medication, it's making sure, that it's the right medicine for them. And I've also done more speaking engagements.
That's
Like I just
awesome.
did one yesterday for
Yeah,
Black
and I think I
Women's
have that.
Health
I think I have
Conference.
that. This one, right?
That's,
Yeah.
that was off of Instagram, and I forgot to. The picture got cropped. There were way more people in attendance. Not everybody took a picture.
Mhm.
Um, that was a wonderful experience. And in February, LSU hosted a panel discussion. They showed a film about medicine in the civil rights movement.
Man,
It,
that's interesting.
it was really good.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
was a little insulted. Why are you asking me? I'm not old enough to contribute to that. And he told me, once again, my good friend, Dr. Robert Maupin at LSU, he has moved up the ranks in the administration. And he said, you have a story. You can contribute.
That's
And
beautiful.
so I was on a part of that panel, and a nurse I know has asked me to participate in something. So, and then yesterday when I found out from an educator here in Orleans Parish that they can't teach about reproduction, I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
I
unreal.
have to do some. I'm going to do something. And when Celeste stepped up and helped, she said, it was during the Q&A part, and she said, well, it's really more of a comment. And then she gave her take on things after she heard me speak. And I'm looking at her in amazement, like she is applying the things she is
Your
learning
baby.
right now.
Yeah, she's
And I
right.
was like, Celeste, we make a good team. We should
Yeah.
do something, and we haven't fleshed it out. I may have to, I have a number of avenues I may pursue with it, but I want her to be able to help me. It's like, oh, maybe one of the, well, we have so many things going on with the sorority right now, but one of the targets, we could do it and have the sorority be a part of it, or I just have a bunch of ideas.
Well,
But
listen, my suggestion is don't say too much of it right now because you want to surprise people. Okay?
yeah, we want to do something. I still have a passion for educating
Yeah,
uh, in that respect, and
it's in you.
make
It's
it
in you.
relatable.
That's
Mhm.
right. And I think, considering, like once again, commend those who were on the front line, but you had a temporary setback and that was all divinely planned.
Absolutely. I
Where you
needed.
are now and where you're going to go later with your daughter and other things to come. So I think that within itself is going to be a great opportunity to embark upon once you share that with us in the future. As you can see, I ain't saying too much. So, in addition to the sorority, in addition to the kids, the husband, what else are you doing in your free time? I know I see this. You like
My
gardening.
gardening.
And can I just tell you, I love those flower pots. Girl, where'd you get those flower pots from?
A variety of places.
Oh my gosh.
Like yeah, I see them everywhere. Home Goods, Tuesday Morning.
Oh my goodness.
Um, they were at they just at Marshalls. They were much less expensive in the other places. And then a lot of the pots, I just got the terracotta pots and
Those are so
painted them
nice.
and tried to. Well, I started with I was trying to get the rose that my grandmother had in her yard, because we would always bring roses to our teachers, and they were long stem and they were beautiful and they smelled good.
Mm,
And so in flipping through to find the rose, I said, and I would check with Renee, does this look like the one? And all we had was really old pictures. Nothing seemed to be in
yeah.
focus. But then I saw one, I said, I think this is the one. So we got it, grew it. Certainly it was. And then my next one was like, I want to get some pink tea roses. Well, guess what? Well, they're hybrid tea roses, but there's so many different colors of pink. Then I couldn't help myself. And it's
Oh
like
my goodness. That's so
80,
beautiful. I
80
gotta look at that
roses
picture
later.
again. I
But
mean, of course, you have to have some pink and green in there.
you
You know,
know it.
I think it's so beautiful. So I can imagine how therapeutic that
Oh,
is.
it gets me
Oh my
outside. I
goodness.
get some sun, and it is some exercise. It was more exercise than I thought, but it was enough for me to keep moving when things were seeming to break down. But it is therapeutic, and my backyard neighbor has this huge
Mm.
tree chime, so the wind is going. It's just
Oh my goodness.
melodic, and I can sit down when
Oh
I
my
want
goodness.
to. I am literally out there smelling the
When I
roses.
come home to visit, I'm coming. I'm coming to hang out in that backyard. I want to show this last picture because I think it's such a pretty picture of you.
Oh, thank you. That's our sorority shot.
I think it's so cute. So we're almost done, but I want to ask you a couple of more questions. What are you most proud of?
I know it sounds cliche, but I am proud of my children and the paths that they've taken. And I'm proud that they are independent thinkers and are doing responsible things. My
Yeah.
son's trying to buy a house, he's looking at homes. He just graduated from college last year.
Yes,
You
you
know,
did.
my daughters very much have their own minds and they very
Mhm.
much speak their own minds. So I feel like, okay, you're brave enough to
Yeah.
step up to me, not in a disrespectful way, but if you can, to me, like you're going to try to make your point with me, not necessarily arguing, but they won't back down. Or like the Mardi Gras Indians, they
Oh
don't
yeah.
bow down.
That's right.
So
That's
I'm
right.
proud that they're not going to be easily influenced like that,
That's
that they
right.
have their own minds, they speak their minds, that they also love learning and education and
Hmm.
want the right information. And, both sides of their family are historic in
Yes,
Louisiana,
that's
right?
right.
So we got the Humphrey side and what they bring. I'd say on both sides,
Like a
like
Lapeyrolerie,
the Lapeyrolerie
from
side
the
and
flyer.
unions and St.
Yeah,
John Parish and organizing and getting a credit
that's
union
right.
started. And of course, the Humphrey side,
Yes.
where they've been teaching jazz to those who didn't know it was jazz,
All the way back to 1859.
all the way back, teaching how to
Yes.
read, teaching proper technique, up and down the river to these different plantations. And then you have the Matoyers,
Yes, that's right.
and so they have family history, deep roots in Louisiana, in New Orleans. Um, and it's something they really started appreciating once they got into college. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
it didn't register so much. They were used to hearing the things, but then when they hear it from another source or they see
Hmm.
an article, it's like, what? And look, I bought a set of encyclopedias, and in the encyclopedia under Louisiana, they had a picture. It was jazz music, and it was a picture of my grandfather,
Hmm.
my
Yeah.
mother's father.
Yeah.
We were like, look, it's Papa Willie.
Yeah.
They were like, it just,
The
so I'm
connection.
proud of my kids. They're doing their thing.
That's beautiful.
They don't, they're not going to quit. They're not quitters.
Mm-mm.
You know,
They don't have it in
um,
them. They got wonderful parents and they have
they
a great
have
upbringing as
a
well.
certain discipline, and I'm proud that they've been exposed to more. They're not afraid of traveling. They're not afraid of going out and meeting people and doing things. And so I'm that is what I'm proud of. The adults they're becoming.
You
That
have every right to be proud of it. And it's not cliche. I mean, it's a blessing to have children. I mean, I'm proud of my children. It's a blessing to have raised your children. You never know which direction they're going to go into. You just never know. You can do
Mhm.
all you can, but it's a blessing to have those children who are actually have their own mind, they're independent, and they're on their way. So that's what you hope for, that's what you pray for, and you and your husband did a wonderful job, and then your
Yes.
parents did a wonderful job. So it's like generation after generation of greatness. So it's in us. So that's a blessing. What advice would you give other young women? since we're talking about Women's History Month?
You know, I think, did you watch Insecure?
Girl, let me tell you something. I have not, and there's so many shows I have not watched,
Well,
but I haven't seen it, but I need to.
There's a part of it where Issa D is the name of the character.
Yes.
She's talking to herself in the mirror. And sometimes it's a rap, sometimes she's just having a real talk with herself, but the mirror image talks back to her, and it may be something different. But like, my advice would be sort of like that. Get in the mirror, give yourself some positive affirmations. Start your day with gratitude, but be your own biggest supporter, and know that you can put your mind to it, find a way to do it. Look at obstacles as opportunities. You may have to get around those obstacles to make them opportunities, but don't let anyone steal your joy.
Yes.
Or dampen your determination. So just, if you're driven to do it, and that's what I felt like I was driven to do, obstetrics and gynecology, then you find a way. It's the path is laid out for you. You have to find your way to that path and keep going. But
I agree.
Nothing else. You know, be your own biggest cheerleader and find those positive affirmations, stick them on your mirror, talk to yourself, get your sister circle, and people that want to see you succeed, and they're right there with you, your ride or dies, they're there with you, and they're not gonna lie to you, but they're not gonna tell you stuff just to bring you down or burst your bubble. So, basically keep moving forward.
Listen, I just wrote all that down and more. And that is some excellent advice that you see is going across the screen. And I just want to thank you so much for being on the show. I'm proud to say that we're related, that we got the same blood running through our vein.
That we do. So am I.
It's a blessing. And even though we haven't seen each other in a while, but I'm looking forward to coming home to visit, all this COVID stuff, and that's pretty much trying to subside, but I've been a little busy bee, but I'm looking forward to coming home. So Jennifer, this has been an awesome conversation, very laid back. I like that. And that's the beauty, as I say, of this platform, because it allows everyone to tell their story and allow us to tap into a plethora of diverse worlds. My dear cousin, I thank you for being on the front line when you were on the front line. Thank you for being true to who you are and true to your community. Thank you for your contributions to the medical community. Thank you for being a woman of color catalyst and for your overall hard work and amazing spirit. As I say to many women on this platform, but I'll say it to you even more so, you are more than a trailblazer. You are truly a trendsetter, and I really do appreciate you, love you, and applaud you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you, Halima. You're going to love it when Uncle Terry gets on.
I can't wait. He has so much history. He knows so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to interviewing him after, Women's History Month. So I'll be, because I know he went to New York for Christmas, and then he was a lot of other stuff he was doing. So I was like, I'll be coming after you, man.
I can't wait to hear it. I just talked to Layla about something that Renee got from him, and I said, what? Oh, man. And Layla had never heard that story before.
Girl, he's got everything. Everything.
He does.
So thank you to those of you
for having me.
Listen, girl, you don't thank me. Thank your own self. I'd like to thank everyone who have tuned in. Be on the lookout for more phenomenal women this month for Women's History Month as we tackle topics such as domestic violence, mental illness, being an entrepreneur, staying sane in a world of insanity, and so much more. This segment will be available on the Anything and Everything Media YouTube channel, as well as on all major podcast platforms. To learn more about Anything and Everything Media, visit www.anythingandeverythingmedia.com. And until then, as I always say, keep it moving.